Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Before I start, I'd like to thank all the masters, the gurus, and the teachers of all lineages, and all the masters and the teachers that have imparted this knowledge to me. I want to explain to you guys the process of inner alchemy and how to use our body to transcend and reach the higher states of consciousness. So I'd like to begin by saying that this will be a long video. So if you have some time, you can pause the video, get some tea or coffee or some snack, and watch the video entirely, because it will be worth it to watch the entire thing rather than distract yourself. So we're going to start off by understanding the three aspects of ourselves. There's the body, there's the breath, and there's the mind. And these three things are not separate, although we think of them as separate. They are all connected. And I will explain how they're all connected and how the process of having them all connected is the key to enlightenment, is the key to transcendence, and is the key to inner alchemy. So we'll start off with the body. Now, what is the body? The body is made of the 5 elements, right? And within that 5 elements, air is another element, which is the breath that it uses. And mind is, mind actually doesn't use the 5 elements. It uses them on a subtle form. So the body is the 5 elements. The body is also, by itself, it's not living. The body is dead. If there's no prana, if there's no breath within the body, it cannot live. So breath is our life force energy, is our chi, right? And it's important for us to live. It gives us life. And there's 2 kinds of breath. There is the breath that we're taking now. The inhale, hold, and exhale, that's the physical breath, also known as the postnatal breath. But then there's the prenatal breath. When you were in the womb, you were still alive. You weren't breathing. However, there was still prana within you. That's the prenatal chi. That's the energy that was given to you by God for you to get out of the womb and experience this world. So breath is twofold. There's pavan, which is the physical breath, and then there's prana, which is the prenatal breath, or the prenatal chi, you can say. Then there's the mind. Now, the mind is a thing on its own. And we are special as humans because we have a mind. Other species, they don't have as much of a developed mind as we do. And that's exactly why we're humans. Even the word human, man means mind. And the function of the mind is to be a witness, to be a conscious. It's essentially consciousness. However, whether we use it like that, it's a different story. So, mind is consciousness. However, when the mind identifies with the body or the breath, we'll start with the body. When it identifies with the body, it gets stuck in thinking that it's the 5 elements. The mind starts thinking, I am this flesh and bones. It starts thinking, I am this water I drink. I am this fire I'm lighting, this fire that I'm taking in, this breath I'm breathing, right? These sounds that I'm hearing. It starts thinking it's all of this. However, mind in itself is none of that. Mind is just consciousness. It's just a empty platter, and whatever you put on it, it takes its form. And for many of us, mind is the reason for bondage. Because when we think we are the five elements, we become bounded by that particular thing, whatever it may be, whether it's this body, whether it's someone else, whether it's the thing that we're eating. It becomes that. So mind is by itself, it's transparent. It's a mirror. It's just showing you what you want to see. So once we understand that, we have to realize that this is also three different bodies. This is the physical body. The breath is also called the astral body or the subtle body. And then the mind is the causal body. These are advanced concepts that I won't get into too much. However, just to let you know how these things are regarded in ancient texts. Now, one thing that is important is that when all of these are one, the body, the breath, and the mind, we get into the fourth state, which is turiya. So this is the transcendent state, the state of enlightenment. There's really no words to describe it because you just have to experience it and feel it. And the whole goal of this practice is to reach to this state. And I don't want to speak too much on the state because I want the practice to be the thing that does the speaking rather than me speaking on what the stage is. However, it's just Sat Chit Anand is the best way to explain it. And Sat Chit Anand just means truth, consciousness, and bliss. So that's what essentially what we're going to be getting into. So now we're going to start off with the body, or rather the exercise that will connect the mind and the body. Because, like I said, they all have to be connected. And one of the ways that we connect is through breath. Now, like I said, there's two kinds of breaths. There's the postnatal breath, and then there's the prenatal breath. What I'm going to be referring to is the prenatal breath. It's the life force energy that you had when you were in the womb. But we're going to use postnatal breath to tap into it. So I'll explain what all this means. So I'm going to tell you guys about the macrocosmic orbit. This is essentially how your body is naturally moving. You know, when you're moving your hand, it's moving this way. It can't go this way, right? It, like, no matter how hard you try, it's against the laws of your body to bend like that. It's always going to bend like this. That's because your body is supposed to be moving in a certain way. But what happens is when we're moving without our mind or consciousness being involved, we are separating the mind and the body. We are thinking that we're two different things, that I can be thinking about something else, but my body could be doing something else. That creates a disharmony within you. And what we're here to do is bring back the harmony between the body and the mind. So this exercise is essentially how your body is moving energy. And it's important to know this, even if you don't practice it, because it's important to know that my body is supposed to act this way. And if it's acting any other way, that means there's something wrong with the operating system. There's something wrong with the body. So we'll start off with the first two steps of the microcosmic orbit, which is essentially the energy descending down your body, right? When you eat food, energy is always going down. It's always going down and descending down and digesting. And your hands are also, they also come in, right? when they come in, they bring the energy in like this. And that's the first step. They're gathering the energy in. It's the contraction force that's bringing the energy to your center here, your belly, which is your Ming Men, which is your storehouse for all your energy. Now, the second step is within the legs. The energy goes up from the back of the legs. And even if you think about it, when you lift your leg up, it always goes back, right? You can't lift it forward. It would be a different kind of mechanism to lift it forward, which we'll get into later. So this is the first step. So you can do this first step, bring the energy in and then bring it up from the back of your legs. You could, if you're advanced, you can make this into one step. However, I recommend you just feel this first. Feel that energy descending down from your hands and up your back of your legs and coming here, right in your core. It's actually back here. That's where the Ming Men is, in the backside. And this could also be connected with your breath. So on the inhale, you can bring that energy within and feel it going down. And it's going to require some kind of body awareness training, because this is very subtle. Your body needs to be, your spine needs to be open. You need to be doing yoga, which we'll get into later. All these exercises are very important because they open up the spine and they help you move that energy, that Kundalini Shakti, as they say, in that channel. So that's the first step, right? Now I'll get into the second phase, which is step 3 and 4. So the second phase is the expansion force. As you can see, energy descends down from the front of your body and into the front of your legs, right? Like when you raise your leg up, let's say you raise your leg up, you're essentially bringing that energy down. You just don't think about it when you do it. However, you are doing it. And when you bring your mind to it and you do it with your mind, you're creating that mind and body connection, which is, like I said, very important. If you're just doing something, when you're working out, you're listening to a lot of music and you're doing these movements, the mind and the body are not connected. And that's how injuries happen, right? I speak from experience because I have injured myself because I haven't been in tune with what my body is saying. My mind is not listening. My mind is thinking about something else. So this is why this is so important. And like I said, on step 4, it's energy is going up the spine and out of the arms, outside of the arms. It's going up and out the arms. So I'll put this diagram also within the screen that you're looking at, so it's easier for you to see with the instructions. But essentially, there's 5 points that you need to be aware of that energy always comes from. One is the crown. It's always coming. The second are the hands, which is also a very strong point where energy, you can either give energy or receive energy. And the third and the fourth and the fifth are within the legs, in the feet, right? And I've put these points down on the sheet, so you'll be able to see that. The pericardiumate, the P8, is the hand point, and the K1, the kidney ones, are the soles of the feet. These are the 5, and they also represent the 5 elements as well in the body. So it's very important that you learn to bring energy in these points, these energy points, and this in itself will open up a lot of energy, because now what we're doing is we're essentially commanding the energy with our own will, with our own mind, with our own consciousness. And that frees you up. A lot of times our mind is overthinking about something. Let's say we're sitting down, we're worrying about something where we could be just circulating that energy the entire time. Now, I want to give you guys another technique that's with the breath. Because this is, right now we're just on the body level, right? And the breath is very unique because you can connect a mantra to your breath. So one way of, I come from the Sikh tradition, and in this, we have the mantra called Vaheguru. And Vaheguru. This is also 4 syllables as well. So in a way, it could be connected with the 4 steps. So Va, you can imagine the energy go down. Hey, it comes up the back of your legs. Gu, it descends down to your feet. And then Ru, it comes back to the crown. So you can also use any mantra, really, If you're Muslim, you can use Allahu. And like I said, it's a little different because Allahu is, it's 2 syllables. So with that, you could do something like you would do step 1 and step 2 together. So you would feel the energy come down here and then come up from the back of your legs and come here on the Allah. And on the Hu, you bring it down and then bring it up the spine, right? And you could all do it in one breath. I'd also like to say that you can use the mantra of the breath, which is inhale So and exhale Hung. So Hung. This is the natural sound that the mantra makes. So energy is making an infinity sign, if you think about it, right? When it's, let's say this is body. So when it's coming down from here, I use a different color. It's coming from the front of your body, right? It's this way. And then it's coming up here. And then it's going down here. And then it's going up here. Right? It's an infinity sign. That's the frame that your body is following. And the infinity sign or the 0 sign is also a really spiritual sign because the whole point of this exercise is to be 0. And that is the whole point of spirituality as well, is to maintain that 0 state. Now, this doesn't mean you will be nothing. If anything, this will actually unlock a lot of abilities within you to connect with the infinite part of you. Like I said, 0 and infinity are one and the same, right? So what you're doing is you're essentially opening yourself up to infinity when you do this. And in that way, you're everything and nothing at once. So this is philosophy. I don't want to get too much into this. I want to keep this practical today. However, this is the first practice. And do this while you work out. Let's say you're working out, doing some push-ups. You imagine the energy go down. And then as you come back up, it goes up the spine, right? So you could do this with anything. And at first you might feel like you're thinking too much because you're doing all these visualizations, all these things. That's the whole point, because your mind is already busy thinking about things that don't even matter. It's forgotten and it's disconnected from the body. So what we're doing now is getting ourselves connected back to the body. Lastly, I would like to get to the mind. The mind is, like I said, it's consciousness. And I spoke about the infinity sign and the 0. So I'll get into this one more time. The ultimate state of the mind, Mantu Jotsuru Pamp Namu Pashan, is that the mind is just a light, right? Like I said earlier, it's a mirror. So if you point a light to it, you will get light back. In a way, what we're doing is we're becoming 0 so that our mind, we can see the mirror, right? A mirror reflects. And we are the light, right? A consciousness is being reflected on the mind. And this is what will produce the fourth state, is when you're in that stillness, in that silence. So when the mind is silent, you're moving the energy, yet the mind is silent and it's not saying anything. You are essentially reaching the fourth state. Like I said, it's easier to talk about this than do it. That's why I want you to experience it, and that's very advanced. And I don't expect anyone to be there right now. However, over time with practice, you can definitely do this. Now, a few things that I would like to get into about this and how to maximize the entire process, because energy work is not that easy, right? If it was that easy, everybody would be doing it. It requires a certain kind of lifestyle, and it requires that you are dedicated and committed. So I just want to go over some of the guidelines. And one thing that I want to emphasize about breath is that, like I said, there's two kind of breaths, right? There's the postnatal and the prenatal. You want to learn to rely on your prenatal chi, your prenatal prana, because the physical breath, like I said, if you go completely silent and stop your breath, you still have energy. You still have consciousness that's holding you. So your body is not just working on breath. There's a subtle energy that it's also working on. When you can learn to distinguish that, when it's your last time in this body, your last breath, and you have control over where that energy goes, like I said here, you can bring it to your dasam dwar, your 10th gate, which is needed to ascend. Well, I want to speak about the 9 gates. The 9 gates are essentially the 9 openings within our body, right? We have 2 reproductive, or 2 down there, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, 9, right? So these are 9 openings within the body. And if we're identified with these and we think this is how I get to God, then you're essentially deluding yourself. And the 10th gate, which is up here, your dasam dwar, is hidden, right? It's where you hear the celestial sound, the unstruck sound. This is where your connection with God is. And I say unstruck sound or celestial sound, it's a feeling also, not just a sound. You feel God. That's why it's a feeling thing, you know. I don't want this to be a thinking thing, because it's very easy to think and read and get knowledge. What we're here to do is feel. It's a feeling process. Feeling is healing, as they say. So what we're essentially doing is feeling all of our energy, and being able to move that energy is what's going to do the healing. So what you want to do is go to the hidden gate. It's called the 10th gate, and it's hidden. And it's hidden for a reason, because it's a trick, right? We're here to learn to not be tricked by the outside world and to go within. And that's why this energy work is so important, is to keep moving that energy. Because wherever you've been spending, whichever organ you've been spending your energy in, your most of your life, that's where your energy is going to go. So this is a very important key. You know, I spoke about enlightenment and why this work is important. This is why we're doing this. So now we'll get into some guidelines. Now, when it comes to the body, how you treat this body is very important, because this body is the gift you've been given in this life. And if your body can't function and you can't feel energy, or if you can't feel peaceful within the body, then this will be hard. for you to do. In fact, it'll be hard for you to do anything. So, this is just the basics. You don't want to have any processed food. You want to stick to fresh foods, foods that are alive, natural. Fruits and vegetables are are the key. And I would also say certain grains are also they slow the body down. Although they're great for building physical strength, and like if you're hitting the gym, but that's not what we're doing here. What we're doing here is more subtle. And you'll see why this is also important, because when you start getting more subtle, you'll realize you don't need to lift those big weights, because now you're not strengthening your body, you're training your mind now. And the mind makes matter. So in a way, when you've conquered the mind, you're already conquering the body. So we're not so bodily focused when we do this. We're becoming more subtle. We're becoming more energy focused. No processed foods, fruits and vegetables. And I would say eat really only twice a day. And that's a big one, because that's hard to do in this day and age, but it's important. And the reason for that is because when you're moving energy and you have a lot of food within your system, that energy is going to digest that food. That's where most of your energy is going. Especially if you eat a big meal, you feel sluggish, you don't feel like doing anything. And that's precisely what we're looking to avoid. We want to be full of energy. We want to be working with the subtle body more than our physical body. And as for the mind, there's a few things that you also want to start encompassing. One of the big things is stilling the heart mind. The heart and the mind, they're actually very similar. Someone that has heart problems actually has a lot of overthinking, just a mind that is always just going all over the place. So you want to still the heart. And what I mean by still the heart is the heart's desires. Because the likes and the dislikes is what keeps us bounded to karma. And what we want to do is get above the likes and the dislikes. Meaning, when your mind is still, when your mind is one, pain and pleasure, bondage, and even moksha, all these things are fleeting, and they all exist within the mind. The mind thinks that I'm in bondage, so it becomes in bondage. The mind thinks I'm free, so it becomes free, right? Like I said, you want to get out of these concepts. You want to remain one-centered. So that's a really strong practice for you to do while we do this work. Because when you do this practice, when you do move energy, your mind will be like, why am I doing this? This is so weird. No one does this. This is just, something someone just made up. No, it's not made up. People have done this for centuries. This is a very ancient secret practice that yogis have been doing for many, many centuries and even thousands of years, really. And the principles that they follow are these principles, stilling the mind, becoming inward oriented rather than outward oriented, checking into your body. How am I feeling? Do I need to send some energy somewhere? Another thing is when you start doing this work, you'll realize that you're becoming more energy focused, that if you need to bring energy somewhere, a part of your body, you will be able to bring energy there. So for example, my shoulder was hurting a few weeks ago because I injured myself because I wasn't, working out properly. My mind wasn't there. I was working from my ego. and I ended up injuring myself. So I had to take some time off, and I had to send energy there, right? So this energy work is very practical. You're not just doing this for no reason. You're moving that energy so you can heal yourself. People even use it for martial arts. But essentially, out of all of those, what we want to use it for is enlightenment. Because healing and martial arts, all of those things are wu wei. I mean, yu wei, meaning they're self will, right? And you can use your self will to an extent. But the deeper you get into this work, you want to become wu wei, which is non governance. You don't want to govern anything. You want to accept what's coming to you and alchemize it. That's why this is called Neigong, or inner work, inner alchemy. Because you're not going out there, you're not using these minerals to make gold. You're making that gold within you, and you're creating an energy loop. So one more practice that I will say that you will essentially start feeling as you do this work more and more, because like I said, this is the extension of a smaller practice, which I'll show you guys now. So this is the body, right? Well, we won't draw the legs because now this is the simplified version of this practice. But I want you guys to get good with this practice first, because once you get good with this, then you can do that. Now, energy is still moving the same way, but what you can do is, once you've mastered moving energy through your entire limbs, is you can just move it through the spine, through the vertebrae. So, like I said, energy comes from the crown, comes from the heaven, goes down, right? Your Ming Men, your energy center here, and then goes up from the coccyx back up the spine. I will also put another diagram showing this so you have a better view. Essentially, this is another zero that you're seeing, right? You're making an energy circuit. And one last thing that I forgot to mention with this is, when you're doing this work, you want to make sure your tongue is touching the roof of your mouth, because that connection was there. When you were in the womb, your tongue was always touching the roof of your mouth, and that kept the connection going. So you were doing this within the womb. However, when you were born, you started talking. We have a talking problem, right? In this day and age, we talk a lot. And what that does is that severes the connection, so you start having your energy leaked. So when your tongue is touching the roof of your mouth, number one, you're breathing from your nose, then you're not breathing from your mouth. Breathing from your mouth is not really considered healthy. If anything, that's something that people that are ill or sick, that's what they have to resort to. However, if you're healthy, you can close your mouth, have the tongue touching the roof of your mouth, and keep circulating the energy, because that's creating the connection and it's keeping the energy going within. Normally, energy, you're putting energy out here and it's being wasted, right? But when you do inner alchemy, you're not putting energy out anymore, you're putting it back in you. So now it's going back in. And it stays within you rather than you putting it out. So that gives you a lot more energy, which frees up. And that's the whole point of this practice. So a typical practice for doing this kind of work that I do looks like about like a 15 or 20-minute standing meditation, where you're standing in a certain way, where you're not putting pressure on your knees. You have a little bend right here, and I'll also put that in the link below. And what that does is you can just sit here and you can move the energy. You could do the 1, 2, 3, 4, and keep moving that energy. You can move your hands and move the energy. when it's coming in, it's a contraction energy. It's and then when you're expanding, it's the expansion energy. And you go at your own pace because some people like to do it slow, some people like to do it fast. It's just based on their energy, and it will autocorrect itself. So this is the typical energy movement that I start with the first 20 minutes. Sometimes I stay still and I just do it internally. I don't do any physical movement. However, if you're a beginner, it's important for you to do the physical movement as well. And this will create uh, the sensitivity. Another thing you can do to create sensitivity is oiling. You can get some oil and just and oil yourself on where these energy points are, right? So if you're oiling your hand, you oil it going in and then going out from the back. It's always inside. Inside is the hidden part that no one sees, is energy going in. And then the outside is the external, the outer part where the energy is going out. Same thing here, right? Energy going in. So you can oil these places to feel and create some sort of sensation and sensitivity. This will really help you on a journey if you're a beginner and can't feel energy right now. And then I would follow up with some sort of 15-minute of yoga, which I have in my app also, which helps open up the spine. Or you could do Qigong or Tai Chi. Essentially, the practice has to be help you to open up the spine because the spine is where the keyholes, the the vertebrae need to be expanded and need to be stretched, and that's where energy can flow. And then lastly, I end up with some sort of meditation because now that you've got the energy moving, you can sit down and be still. You could either do that through breath work or you could do it through just sitting down, repeating a mantra. Like I said, this will help you. Once you've moved the energy, what you're doing is you're bringing it from here to your heart, right? You do the exercises, it brings it to your heart. You open up through doing yoga, your heart rate expands, but now you want to bring it up here. See, these are the three centers: the lower dantian, the middle dantian, and the upper dantian. And once you bring it up here, now you have to do a meditation to to increase the awareness. And then essentially, once you're done with the meditation, you want to bring it back down, bring it here, because this is where it comes back to. You don't want to leave it here. If you leave it here for too long, you will start having hallucinations, visualizations all day long, and then you will lose ground with reality. It's important for you to bring it back down always. So bring it up here when you're doing consciousness work or meditation, Simran, whatever it is. And then after you're done, bring it back down. And one of the ways you can bring it back down is simply just visualizing it. Like I said, intention, your attention is what's driving the energy. So if your attention is up here, bring it down. The entire gist of this work. What we're doing is learning to move our attention. So it's a game of attention. In an ADHD world, the attention thing is one of the most important things we have, and we have to learn to cultivate it now before it's too late. So that's pretty much it. This is essentially Inner Alchemy 101. This will get you started on this path. And like I said, this is just the beginning. I have my app, which I will put the link down below. You can do some practices within that app which help you do these practices. For example, something like horse stance or like a standing meditation is very important for you to circulate energy, because it's hard to do this when you have a hard time sitting down. Most people can't sit down and meditate for more than 5 minutes, but they move. Everyone's moving all the time. So if you can just become aware of your movement and keep the energy moving while you're doing whatever it is that you need to do. You're driving a car, you're cooking, cleaning, whatever it may be, you can still move the energy and know that now you're connecting the body and the mind. You're no longer just doing it mindlessly or thinking about something else and just doing something else, right? You're connecting it. So, with that being said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.